Man, you should explode. Your sense to wit to start with. Jive, your savage grumpy. Smoke hash, smoke ganja, chew opium. Bite larger. Guzzle country brew. If you broke down a pint of the cheapest dalda, stay 50 day and night, stay tight round the clock. Cops at one and all. Swear by the monk, twat his sister's son. Abuse him, slap him in the cheek and pummel him. Man, you should keep handy around to unite. A dagger, an axe, a sword, an iron rod, a hockey stick, a bamboo. You should carry acid bulbs and such things on you. You should be ready to carve out anybody's dinner without backing an eyelid. Commit murders and kill the sleeping ones. Turn humans into slaves. Whip their asses with a lash. Put your beans on their bleeding backsides. Rob your next door neighbors. Buck banks. Fuck the mothers of money lenders and the stinking rich. Cut the throat of your own kith and kin by calling them. Poison them. Jinx them. You should hump anyone's mother or sister anywhere you can. Engage your dick with every missy you can find. Call nobody too old to be crude, call nobody too young, nobody too green to shag. Lay them one and all. Perform gang rapes on stage in the public. Make whorehouses grow with on a pimp's cup, cut the women's noses, stitch. Make them ride naked on a donkey through the streets to shame them.
Plato, Einstein, Archimedes, Socrates, Marx, Ashoka, Hitler, Camus, Sartre, Kafka, Baudelaire, Rimbaud, Ezra Pound, Hopkins, Goethe, Dostoevsky, Mayakovsky, Maxim Gorky, Edison, Madison, Kalidas, Tukaram, Vyas, Shakespeare, Ganeshwar, and keep them rotting there with all their words. One should hang to death the descendants of Jesus, the Paigambar, the Buddha and Vishnu. One should crumble up temples, churches, mosques, sculptures, museums. One should blow with cannonballs all priests and inscribe epigraphs with cloths soaked in their blood. Man, one should tear off all the pages of all the sacred books in the world and give them to people for wiping shit off their arses when done. Remove sticks from anybody's fence and go in there to shit and piss and muck it up. Menstruate there, cough out phlegm, sneeze out goo. Choose what offends one sense of odor to wind up the show. Raise hell all over the place from up to down and in between. Man, you should drink human blood, eat spit roast human flesh, melt human fat and drink it. Smash the bones of your critics' shanks on hard stone blocks to get their marrow. Wage class wars, caste wars, communal wars, party wars, crusades and world wars. One should become totally savage, ferocious and primitive. One should become devil-may-care and create anarchy. Launch a campaign for not growing food. Kill people all and sundry by starving them to death. Kill oneself too. Let disease thrive, make all trees leafless. Take care that no bird ever sings. Man, one should plan to die groaning and screaming in pain. Let all this grow into a tumor to fill the universe, balloon up, and burst at a nameless time to shrink. After this, all those who survive should stop robbing anyone or making others their slaves. After this, they should stop calling one another names, black or white, Brahmin, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra. Stop creating political parties, stop building property, stop committing the crime of not recognizing one's kin, not recognizing one's mother or sister. One should regard the sky as one's grandpa, the earth as one's grandma, and coddled by them, everybody should bask in mutual love. Man, one should act so bright as to make the sun and the moon seem pale. One should share each morsel of food with everyone else. One should compose a hymn to humanity itself. Man should only sing the song of man.
Of a question, and on occasion, several more sides. But this time, her intelligence failed her. She could find no reason to commit suicide. Still, she wished to be fair. Why? She asked reasonably. Do you want to put me to death? The Crocs were scandalized. They shuddered all over, lashed their tails and rolled over thrice. We do not, they enunciated, wish to put you to death. We merely wish you to die discreetly. Don't you understand the finer distinctions between logic and legality, magic and morality, ethics and equality? We are not murderers. We are not even malicious. On the contrary, we want what is best. The monkey persisted. If I might venture to rephrase my query, would it be possible to explain to me why my demise would increase the sum total of planetary happiness? The Crocs attempted to pat her shoulder. It's simply a matter of arithmetic. You occupy space and breathe oxygen. So you see, if you cease to breathe, you would increase the supply of space available and of oxygen as well. The monkey smiled. And what do you breathe? She asked politely. The Crocs nodded. Did a mere monkey think she could outsmart them? Oxygen-breathing Crocs are a different kettle of fish from oxygen-breathing monkeys. And the same rule of logic does not apply. Confusing categories will do you no good. What will do you some good? Inquired the monkey. He received no answer. It was apparent to the crocodiles that the monkey was uncooperative. They went into a huddle, applied their minds, and offered the monkey a final solution. Look here, little one. We are not interested in death. We are interested in change. We want you to become just like ourselves. How is that to be achieved? The monkey asked, even as she backed away. Crocodile jaws opened wide. Before they could snap shut, she tweaked a croc's nose and leaped out of sight. The monkey's disappearance caused a furore. Venerable Crocs were accused of murder. They protested their innocence. She hasn't died. She's only disappeared. It was her own doing. We deeply regret it. When the time is right, we'll help her to return. She will return. No one believed them.
Of paradise. My memory is again in the way of your history. Army convoys all night like desert caravans. In the smoking oil of dimmed headlights, time dissolved, all winter, it's crushed fennel. We can't ask them, are you done with the world? In the lake, the arms of temples and mosques are locked in each other's reflections. Have you soaked saffron to pour on them when they are found like this, centuries later in this country, I have stitched to your shadow. In this country, we step out with doors in our arms. Children run out with windows in their arms. You drag it behind you in lit corridors. If the switch is pulled, you will be thrown from everything. At a certain point, I lost track of you. You needed me. You needed to perfect me. In your absence, you polished me into the enemy. Your history gets into the way of my memory. I am everything you lost. You can't forgive me. I am everything you lost. Your perfect enemy. Your memory gets in the way of my memory. I am being rowed through paradise on a river of hell. Exquisite ghost, it is night. The paddle is a heart. It breaks the porcelain waves. It is still night. The paddle is a lotus. I am rowed as it withers towards the breeze, which is soft as if it had pity on me. If only somehow you could have been pain only to myself. There is everything to forgive. You can't forgive me. If only somehow you could have been mine, what would not have been possible in the world?
शहर में सुअर की इमारतें थी। वह एक विशाल यंत्र पक्षी पर बैठकर उन शहरों को जाता था। दुनिया में जितने मुल्क थे, उससे कहीं अधिक बड़े शहर थे, उससे भी कहीं अधिक सुअर की इमारतें थी। हर शहर की हर इमारत में सुअर की बीवियां थी। इस तरह दुनिया में जितने मुल्क थे, उससे ज्यादा शहर थे, उससे ज्यादा सुअर की इमारतें थी और उससे भी कई ज्यादा सुअर की बीवियां थी। एक दिन सुअर को हर मुल्क के हर शहर की हर इमारत में रहने बसने वाली बीवी की तरफ से भेजे गए एक साथ कई टेलीग्राम मिले। सभी में सुअर के बात करने की खबर थी। सुअर विशाल यंत्र पक्षी पर बैठकर हर शहर की हर इमारत में गया। इसके कुछ दिनों बाद सुअर ने गोलमेज सम्मेलन बुलाया, जिसमें सुअर की सारी बीवियां शामिल हुई। सुअर गुस्से में था। उसने गुर्राते हुए कहा, मेरे किसी भी बच्ची का रंग मेरे जैसा स्याह क्यों नहीं है? उनकी खाल मेरे जैसी खुरदुरी, कठोर और ठूंठदार क्यों नहीं है? मेरे जैसे तीखे, मजबूत, नुकीले हिस्स कहाँ है? उनकी आंखें खरगोश की तरह फूहड़ और डरपोक क्यों दिखाई देती है? मेरी बीवियां बताए, क्या ये मेरे ही बच्चे हैं? बीवियों ने उसे समझाया, सुनो मेरे आका, किसी भी सुअर के बच्चे शुरू में सुअर नहीं होते। वे खरगोश और मेमने से भी ज्यादा मुलायम, नर्म और गए गुजरे होते हैं। वो तो हम हैं जो उन्हें पढ़ाते सिखाते हैं, नसीहतें देते हैं। इस तरह धीरे धीरे हर रोज उन्हें सुअर बनाते हैं।
This is the first letter I am sending you. By the grace of God, you are considered very handsome by the Americans. Well, my features are not exactly bad either. If I go to America, perhaps I'll be a part of the same status. But you are the Prime Minister of India, and I am the famed story writer of Pakistan. Quite a deep gulf separating us. However, what is common between us is that we are both Kashmiris. You are a Nehru, I am a Manto. To be a Kashmiri is to be handsome, and to be handsome, I love you. I have a long cherished desire to meet you. We might yet meet during our lifetime. The older people from my side often meet those from yours, but so far I have not had any opportunity to meet you. What a great pity that I have not even seen you. Of course, I have once heard you in a video. As I said, I have long harbored this desire to meet you. Being Kashmiris, we are bound together. But now I wonder where the need is. One Kashmiri does run into another in violences or at crossroads. You settled on the bank of Nahar River and came to be known as Nehru. I wonder how I became a Manto. You may have visited Kashmir in the late times. I could just go out to Banihar. My Kashmiri friends who know the Kashmiri language tell me that Manto means month, that is, a measuring stone weighing 1.5 kilo. I'm sure you know Kashmiri. If you take the trouble to write a reply to this letter, do write to me about the origin of the word Manto. If I'm just 1.5 sail, then there is no comparison between us. You're the whole stream while I'm just 1.5 sail. How can I take you on? But we both are the kind of guns that, as the well-known proverb about the Kashmiris know, take a shot in the dark. Please don't take it amiss. When I heard You're the Prime Minister of India. You're the ruler of the country that was formerly mine. You're everything. But pardon me if I say that you have never cared for this humble person. I would like to tell you an interesting anecdote. Whenever my late father, who was obviously a Kashmiri, ran into a hut, he would bring him home, seat him in the vestibule and treat him to some Kashmiri salty tea and kulchas. Then he would tell the hut proudly, "I am also a kosher. Panditji, you are a kosher too. By God, if you want my life, it is yours for the asking. I know and believe that you have clung to Kashmir because being a Kashmiri, you feel a sort of magnetic love for the land. Every Kashmiri, even if he has not seen Kashmir, should feel this way. As I have already mentioned, I have been to Banihal. I have seen places like Kutch, Bata and Kashgar. I have seen their poverty alongside their beauty. If you have removed this poverty, then keep Kashmir to yourself. But I am sure you cannot do it, despite being a Kashmiri, because you have no time. Between us Pandit brothers, do this. Call me back to India. First, I'll help myself to Shaljan, Shalbeg at your place and then take over the responsibility for Kashmiri affairs. The Bakshish and the rest of them deserve to be sacked right away. Cheats of the first order. For no reason you've given them such high status. Is that because this suits you? But why at all? I know you're a politician, which I'm not, but that does not mean I don't understand anything.
Oh, चिट्ठी न कोई संदेश, जाने वो कौन सा देश जहाँ तुम चले गए। चिट्ठी न कोई संदेश, जाने वो कौन सा देश जहाँ तुम चले गए, जहाँ तुम चले गए। इस दिल पे लगा के ठेस, जाने वो कौन सा देश जहाँ तुम चले गए। एक आह भरी होगी हमने न सुनी होगी, जाते जाते तुमने आवाज तो दी होगी। एक आह भरी होगी हमने न सुनी होगी, जाते जाते तुमने आवाज तभी होगी। हर वक्त यही है गम, उस वक्त कहाँ थे हम, कहाँ तुम चले गए। इस दिल पे लगा के ठेस, जाने वो कौन सा देश जहाँ तुम चले गए। हर चीज पे आंसू से लिखा है तुम्हारा नाम, ये रस्ते घर खलियां तुम्हें कर ना सके सलाम। हर चीज पे आंसू से लिखा है तुम्हारा नाम, ये रस्ते घर गलियां तुम्हें कर ना सके सलाम। हाय दिल में रह गई बात, हाय दिल में रह गई बात, जल्दी से छुड़ा कर हाथ मासूम रुख पे तुम्हें ढूंढ रहे हैं यार, तुम्हें ढूंढ रहे हैं यार। हम कैसे करें इकरार कि हाँ तुम चले गए, तुम्हें ढूंढ रहा है प्यार। हम कैसे करें इकरार कि हाँ तुम चले गए। इस दिल पे लगा के ठेस, जाने वो कौन सा देश जहाँ तुम चले गए।
Dr. Ambedkar.
My hopes are going towards you, you who conceived of giving a burial to the pages of religion, caste, gender and race preserved under armed protection. My hopes are pulled towards your achievement to a low tone of falling rain softly playing flute, tunneling out of my soul, surrounding electric trees, kicking that ancient woman hard and deep in the gut. Mirrors are losing their reflective polish, the sea of hell is being parted. The powdered bones of those afflicted with sin are being scattered from high above in the sky and they vanish. The sun is setting over the lands ruled by demons. The devils who plucked leaves of mythology from a blossoming spring. The devils who made my throat sing songs that condemned all regions of evil. The skin of the untouchable, parched by cycles of untouched life, is moistened by your heavenly stream. You have smashed the head of the God-given wind that created room for a wobbly nation and its restless people. You have pierced through the voluptuous thighs of those ghostly nymphs that cast their spell upon us. My history starts from you, the age of every man you launched. Let those who want to have the history of man bundled in satin, abstract and concrete, stigmata the blind masses wear on their forehead, the caste mask of false history. People are tempted to dynamite themselves to blow up their latent greatness. I won't look for you among the bulls and the bears of the market, or in the clock of the present time. I won't seek you in the distance between the crow and the factory, the public urinal and the prison custody. The shining liver of a 7-year-old gathers dust. Oh, peak free shaking in all these circumstances, I pursue the waves of change on the crest of my period. I am thinking of the wild birds and the city birds shifting on your bronze statue. That's no thought really, it's only a parasite that's growing on a circumambulation of your statue. That is the origin of the individual, and a shortening of the long journey towards one's identity that contains neither a flame nor a knife. That has the hardness of the back of a female crocodile and the insensitiveness of the skin of a rhino. That contains only the burbling sound of the original spring of life and the tenacity of an iguana, and bodies built like fortresses and bastions. Thought and death are both deception. Smoking a hashish pipe and getting laid are both deception. As though a sheet brought from the goddess of rags can cover absolute nudity. The parrot of existence perennially pecks at the unending agony of thought. The parrot of existence perennially pecks at the permanent pain of death. Death is that stone inscription of which the thinker is always afraid. Death, thought, the hashish pipe, sexual intercourse. It's a sovereign precious stone that even time cannot cut with its teeth. I can't see my own face, you know. It's a nauseating face, and that I, with such a face, should be an animal wagging its tail, following them. You have pushed me towards such a crucial doorstep. An earthen owl of compassion and a black rose of blood grow out of my arms. Their fermented foul breath commands me to vomit and makes me walk through a crowd, and please walk with me like humans. And my hands compose books of the apocalypse. The procession that covers me up has no root in death. It's a procession for which a fire pit blazes in my mind and white rabbits swing in the air. It's the formation of a single luminous lamp that the seasons have planned. That procession and I may never split apart. Time does not categorize the same sex, for the eyes of time are never as myopic as the vision of the senses. If time were myopic, how would your face at the bottom of this procession and the bottom of my being be hurt by those divine ways imagined differently in parliaments of the people.
As my head becomes visible, rising above earths and torches, shrieking military aircraft circle above me searching for their prey, and the design of a martial law regime starts erasing lines drawn on maps, and the whole web of lines. And through this crisis, I am going on my tenacious journey like a would-be conqueror, driven by a desire shaped like the Ashwamedha Charja. In this pomegranate forest I am going through, my society is just a bystander. If I don't uproot this society of mere onlookers, a hard rock will separate you and me. And I will not be able to see your radiant disk surrounded by lotuses growing among crystals, rejecting all material things, and merged with myself, tasting wholesome and scrumptious like freshly baked millet bread. A textile mill, a heart, an asthmatic, a soldier. One goes through the length of the settlement to the courtyard of childhood, to play with shaggy red-haired puppies, and to inhale mango blossoms that burst before raw mangoes appear on the tree, and to catch and slay the frightening anti-shadows, their hordes prancing like deer and shimmering like bony plates on the skin. I am afraid I go berserk 15 years after you were gone. Death has just fed dust to one of your